Welcome back, MTG Joe here. Today we are going to look at the weekly metagame breakdown, the first of the post-ban standard best of one metagame. It's been a couple days now, so we're going to start seeing some data come in. As always, this is still kind of being worked out, kind of getting a feel for it. Personally, I've been playing a couple decks trying to see where we can kind of attack the meta. It's been pretty wide open. Even kind of looking at the stats so far, there's nothing like clear outlier. Even looking at popularity of the day, before we saw basically every flip. We saw mono red aggro, we saw Boros mono red, Mardu mono red, Rakdos mono red, mice package just being played everywhere, with just kind of splicing different cards in it, seeing a bigger kind of dichotomy of decks themselves being included, which is a good sign, at least post board, or like post ban, that stuff's at least kind of being tried out in different veins. So if you have a question for folks, what deck are you finding the most success with? The qualifier this month is going to be standard, both best of one play-in, then best of three for the actual event. So we are going to kind of play around with things, see how they go. So we are going to look today, and then all these deck lists will be in the video description, pasted in timestamp. If you want to use Untap, link is there as well if you want to track your win rates. So popularity of the day. The Dinosaur Reanimator deck's highest played 7.7 is probably, I would say, that mono black, as well as the Azorius Synthesizer decks have been the decks I've been running into the most relative to anything, at least first-hand experience, mono black being the next. Azorius Control's at 5%. We'll cover it, but it's not doing well relative to kind of the other decks. In the sample we're seeing mono white life gain at 5%. We have Izzet at 4.5. This is more moving away from the Corey version and playing PVD's kind of PT list with Cauldron. We have just kind of Reanimator packages. Largely, these are kind of built around the same shell, just kind of bringing out different threats. We have a Tursa, or not the landfall kind of aggro deck as well. Seeing quite a big shift where we had Izzet being quite dominant, pretty flat, all things considered. So for right now, because the ladder just reset, we're getting a little bit tail end noise of the end of the season, but we're capturing the first few days of July into this. 57,000 games played. Highest win rate deck is also the Dinosaur Reanimator deck. So if you like dinosaurs, if you like reanimating, this deck is for you. So what you're trying to do with this deck is put Dinosaur into graveyard, any of these big chunkers, and then you're either using Zombify or Rakdos joins up to reanimate. So there's a couple different lines, and there's kind of a combo kill in a way. Gishath comes in and it attacks. You get to put in a whole bunch of dinosaurs into play, so you kind of get that free cast. Just, hey, it's turn 4, turn 5, potentially. I got turn 3 the other day because they had the invasion of Urgamon into Gishath on turn 3 with Zombify. There's also Galta, put a bunch of things from your hand into play. You kind of get the discover value from Atali and Trumpeting Carnosaur. But then also with Rakdos joins up, if you legend rule your legendary dinosaurs, when legends die, it deals damage equal to its power. So if you have multiple Galtas, deals 12. Gishath, same idea, Atali, so you kind of kill them that way there. Deck itself's very much just about doing the thing. You're not really going to be interacting with your opponent beyond just the Trumpeting Carnosaur. Some of the lists I've seen are on Bitter Triumph, just as another way to discard as a potential option, but that's pretty much the deck in itself. Izzet Cauldron, 57%. So like I was saying, like we see kind of a drop off. The Dinosaur deck was a little bit of an outlier, it's the only one being in the 60s right now. Everything else is like 55, like 54-ish, 55 to like 57, which again, a little bit normalized. I found that too yesterday, where when I was playing, I'd win 3 or 4, then lose 2 or 3, win 3 or 4, kind of going the best of one experience. So this version here, we have VV in the deck, but you're not doing like Corey kind of prowessy things. It's more around Agatha's Soul Cauldron, the draw discard package. So you have Proph's Edict that puts counters on things, Fear of Missing Out, draw discards. You have Marauding Mako, which cares about things being discarded. Winter Night Stories, draws discards, all plays into that theme. How it works is if you have a VV under the Izzet Soul Cauldron, all your creatures get the ability, if they have a counter on it, to add mana equal to its power. So you can kind of chain through your deck, and you build like your Exodia creature. With Voldaren Thrillseeker, any creature with a counter on it, if it's under the Cauldron, can sacrifice itself equal to its power. So you can kind of have them self-enabling, where they generate the mana needed to sacrifice themselves as well. This puts counters on things. Tersa gets you kind of value, draw, discard as well, and then just some disruption and Flood Maw, Spell Pierce, and a Braid in here. With a Braid, you may even want, because like the Braid's kind of a holdover from the Quarry meta, you can probably just like either play more Flood Maw, Torch the Tower, Burst Lightning, just 1 mana interaction, since you have quite a glut of 2s right now. Go to Mono Black Midrange, Mono Black Demons. So some of the lists are on Demon Wall, some aren't. You have like the Slasher, Bloodletter, Aquazots combo. I do kind of like the split now between Anoint and Go for the Throat, being that like I was running into a lot of games where I had 2-3 Go for the Throats in hand against the Synthesizer decks, and they just have all artifact creatures, and it just feels terrible. Full set of Duress here, so just a lot of removal early on. You kind of just try to beat down with the one-shot combo, or Unholy Annex just to grind you value there. Nothing really like hugely innovative here. It's just a deck that was reasonable before and was not hit by bans, so could continue playing. So Selesnya Rabbits, we've actually seen an uptick in terms of play rates, 630 matches, just as well as the results. If we actually look here, there's 2 players, Colm and Faria, came in at 10 Mythic, 42 Mythic. This deck I usually found the toughest matchup was the red-based aggro decks. You're a turn or 2 slow, and if you let them kind of goldfish, they run you down. This deck can have very explosive draws. We have Valley Mightcaller that gets bigger with every other frog or rabbit that comes into play. If you have curves of like Mightcaller into like double 1-drop into hop to it, you just have a 6/6 trample. So they scale pretty well. Paw Patch good against any kind of targeted removal. Their only removal in the deck really is Sheltered by Ghosts. I had a game the other day where opponent drew 4 Sheltered against my Lizards deck in the top 14 cards. So I was naturally a little tilted after that one. Season of Burrows, another way to have some removal, and then gets you kind of some reanimation. Night Aaron has card advantage. Bloom Burrow goes big. Phineas can kind of distribute counters. So you kind of go wide, you can kind of go tall, and then you kind of just push through a whole bunch of damage there. So then we have the Azorius Affinity, or it's not really Affinity, it's more of the Synthesizer deck. So the deck's really built around Simulacrum Synthesizer. When you have this out, and when you don't have this out, it's worlds of difference. This card is the engine of the deck. It makes any 3 CMC or more artifact create you a construct, which is very powerful. It's kind of got like a birthing pod style strategy with repurposing bay. So you sack an artifact, and you get to go through your library and put into play another artifact. So things like Clayfire Bricks helps you hit lands early, Spring-Loaded Saw Blades is removal, and then these can all be like go and fetch you more synthesizers. Earliest Snare and Assimilation Aegis as exile effects, and then they make tokens with the synth out. Temporary Lockdown as a catch-all for the aggressive decks. United Battlefront could find you any of these pieces. Going up the curve, you can do a 3-drop into Solemn, and then that kind of replaces itself, and then into Riptide Gearhulk, into Nexus of Becoming as kind of the chain. You'll see Fomori Vault as well as Fountain Port as utility lands along with the Restless Anchorage. Dimir Midrange, 55%, so probably in best of 3, this would be one of my go-to decks. It's putting up a lot of good results in the challenge. The decks have started adopting Cecil, 2 copies in the main. Just another creature that your opponent doesn't really want to block, so you can cheat out Kaidos with it, which is nice. Gains you some life if you can get your life low enough, so it's got a lot of utility in that sense. A lot of the decks now are starting to adopt 1 to 2 copies of Saiba Cryptomancer, so it's kind of a tricky ninja card when you look at it. So flashes in, it's just an 0/1 hexproof, but it is a ninja subtype for Kaidos plus ability, and it has backup, so you can put the counter either on itself, it becomes a 1/2, or you can protect one of your other creatures. So you can put the counter on them and they get hexproof for the end of the turn. So it's a way to kind of have that like Plumcree, like the bird that gives hexproof. So similar idea in that case. Flood Pits Drowner can kind of tap stuff down, give you some value. Tishana's Stifles Kind of gives you that effect there, and then Enduring Curiosity refills your hand afterwards. Mono green landfall. So Tifa Lockhart, Mossborn Hydra, lands come into play, double the counters, double the power type effects. So Burstly Bill puts counters, you have Traveling Chocobo, that gets you lands from the top of your library, doubles landfall triggers, which is nice. And then like you have the little Chocobo here that gets power, like it gets a counter every time your line comes to play. Things like Bushwhack can help you hit lands. Ordeal of Nylea is a nice one because when it attacks, you put a counter, then it has 3 or more counters. You sacrifice and find lands, so it works really nice just as ways to kind of find lands. Springbloom Druid is another way to get some lands into play. So just lots of ways to kind of get lands to play. You have these fetch, in quotation, fetch lines that provide some utility as well as getting you multiple landfall triggers in the deck. All right, my deck, Rakdos Lizards. So I featured this the evening that the bans went into play, Monday afternoon, evening. So I went 5-0. Since then I've been playing. Still have had positive win rate, but kind of weird variance. I'd say this is a deck that can be played. It's not the best deck. One change that I made, Valley Flood Flamecaller. I don't like this card in the deck after playing more. I put 2 Cecils in. The reason being I really wanted 1-drops that can attack to trigger damage dealt, because you really want to kind of multi-spell ideally on turn 2. Things like Flamecash Gecko becomes Burning Tree Emissary if you deal damage. So you can go like Cecil attack or Higher Claw attack or Vine Lasher. Play this, you get some more mana, then you can either play like another spell, another creature, anything like that. And then I also just got rid of 1 Mudflap Village and 1 Rockface Village and just played 1 more of each basic. I was finding that these were kind of messing up my hands with non-creature spells. You'd have hands like Burst Lightning or Duress and you couldn't cast them. So Duress is just kind of clearing the way for removal. Sweepers, Burst Lightning, go for the throat as your removal package. The kind of engine of the deck is Fireglass Mentor. This just provides a lot of card advantage for you. Now, notably, you have to play this. It has to be in play before you go to your second main phase. You can't play its second main phase and get its ability. So sequencing sometimes. Gastral Thrill Seeker is another powerful card that came out of Aether Drift. It's a lizard that enables the damage dealt conditions. That plays nice. When you have max speed, just Death Touch Haste trades up in terms of the deck itself. Gev is another way to ping, make things bigger. And then my 3-drops in the end, like I said, cut this for Cecil. Laughing Jasper Flint is a way to kind of refill your hand by playing stuff off your opponent's library. And then Alesha was really strong in this deck. You can attack, play Alesha post-combat, even just getting that, like, you know, just throw away a creature to get some damage through, then you get it back. It has first strike when it attacks. 3/3 first strike in most cases can trade favorably in combat. And it's just a way to kind of rebuy value. Rebuying things like Gastral Thrill Seeker that dies. You get the ping again, rebuying Gevs. All that has a lot of utility in the deck. If you want to see a video of this one, I have it up on my YouTube. You can check it out. All the games that we played when we were kind of brewing it up, we can see there. And it was a pretty good spread in terms of matchups. There was a really good game against Izzet that went really, really back and forth, like top deck after top deck kind of thing. So we have Rakdos Reanimator, saying 5 color because our favorite top threat Atraxa to reanimate is here. So you're bringing back like Valgavoth, Atali, Atraxa, Trumpeting Carnosaur. You can refill fill your graveyard with like Overlords, Tursas, Fomos. This version's a lot more interactive. Torches main, Abrades main, Bitter Triumphs main, Harvester Misery, so always kind of interact. Valgavoth's Faithful or Zombify as ways to reanimate your kind of top end effects. I'm just going to share Azorius Control's at 50% win rate. This deck was kind of configured at a time to beat up on some of the aggro decks. We see Ultima. Ultima could probably be substituted in for Sunfall at this point. Sunfall, since you're not really targeting too many artifacts. Sunfall being exiles, a lot more relevant and kind of a win condition or just creature on the backside to block. You're winning here with like Jace Mill, Bezas, Meringues, or Hornlock Whales. Elspeth Smite is cheap removal. You got a bunch of counters mixed in. So the deck's here if you want to see like 180 games, 50%. The only deck that's not showing up right now and I want to share is mono white tokens. So this won the last standard challenge, 9-1 by Fur MTG. Mono white tokens has put up a number of high placings in the last 2 MTGO leagues. So you could probably play this in best of 1 because it's got a lot of utility. It's good against some of the Reanimator decks. Some of like the mid-rangey style decks, the creature decks, since you kind of have removal, you have sweepers, and it overlords the board. What you may want for best of 1 is a couple copies of Coatzeel's Flanker, just to have a main board way to deal with graveyards, that or Ghost Vacuum, whichever you'd prefer. But Enduring Innocence, Overlord of Mistmore's, Voice of Victory, and Beza as your creatures, all these kind of have token theme interaction, or Enduring Innocence draws you cards along with Caretaker's Talent. Then you have Carrot Cake, that's kind of the glue of the deck. Gives you some blockers early, gains you some life, and then helps you kind of set up your scry. Get Lost, Lay Down Arms, Sunfall, Day of Judgment, just a bunch of removal, and then Elspeth on the top end, Demolition Field, Fountain Port as utility lands, getting kind of the advantage of Sunken Citadel to reduce the activation costs. So that is it for the week. Let me know what you've been playing, what you've been liking. I am working on Gruul Delirium specifically for best of 1. I've been trying out a bunch of stuff. I'm almost at Diamond with it. I was trying out some variants with it. So once I'm comfortable with that, I can share that one as well for folks that are looking for an idea there. Alrighty, well, hope you enjoy. Subscribe. We're almost at 18,000. Thanks for watching. Have a great one.